Well, luckily nobody's on right now, so I don't have to feel like I'm letting anybody down right now. So, hey guys, what's going on? Just trying to get my setup complete here. Appreciate you guys joining tonight. So tonight's basically just a whatever topics you want to talk about. That's what we can talk about. There we go. Hey guys, what's going on? Tonight, I hit 500 subscribers last week, and basically I just want to have a open discussion. I cover many different topics on my channel, whether it's parenting, whether it's military, grief and loss, motivation, encouragement, basically anything that's going on. I'd be glad to talk to about with you guys. I also do dad jokes every day, so if you're watching and you like my dad jokes, please consider subscribing. I put out videos every single day, or at least I try to. Maybe I'll miss like a day or two here, but for the most part, I'll have something every single day. So I appreciate you guys watching. The way I've pretty much done this in the past is I kind of just start talking. This past weekend was my son's birthday, and basically that's a difficult time in parenting when they get older. But tonight, I just want to, whatever you guys want to discuss, I'm here to try to help anybody that needs it, whether it's parenting, whether it's military, you're joining the military later in life, you're going through grief and loss, you need encouragement. Feel free to put anything in the chat and kind of direct the way you want the conversation to go. Sometimes I just get up here and I just start talking, and whatever people want to talk about, that's the way I go. So, but a big story this weekend is my Knicks won the championship. So it's a great weekend. Although my Sabres lost a few weeks ago, so that kind of hurt it. But as you can see, my hello J2 Cool for you. So as you can see, my son's birthday was this past weekend. I still got the decorations up. So this is basically a Q&A. It's kind of like a coffee talk conversation. So yes, trust in the Lord. I agree with that. That's why I end every video with "May God bless you." So not trust a Lord, trust the Lord. So as people are joining, there's nobody on right now. Hey guys, thanks for joining my my live stream. Kind of going to a little bit of who I am. So my name is Aaron. I'm a single dad. I'm also an Army reservist. I've been in the Army now for 9 years. I've been a single dad now for 4 years, and I have an 8-year-old son. I've gone through significant grief and loss. I've lost a twin. I've lost a mom. I've lost all my grandparents. Pretty much, I don't have a father anymore. So basically my topics on this channel are a little bit different than a lot of other channels that have specific niches. My channel kind of has a little bit of everything on it. And the reason why that is because I think there's more to me than just one particular subject, and I want to be able to connect with people on a personal level. So it didn't make sense to just focus on one thing, but I'm glad to talk about anything. My goal is to encourage as many people as possible. You know, I've gone through severe adversity in my life. Grew up in poverty. I was in the foster care system. And I used a lot of those life lessons to become the best father I could be. Was lucky enough to work hard enough to get a good paying job and be successful in my career, which I still am shocked that I have the opportunity. I guess I kind of have what they call imposter syndrome. So basically, since I grew up in kind of an adverse environment, I kind of don't feel like I deserve to be anywhere I am. So success is really hard for me, and anything good that happens is hard for me. So if you're like me, please feel free to put it in the chat. I talk about a bunch of different topics on my channel. I do have dad jokes every single day, so if you like comedy and you like dad jokes, please subscribe. You'll see my jokes every single day. I do have some other videos too. I have some for shorts. I have fun facts of the day, and I stopped doing those ones just because they got kind of time consuming. So I guess I'll make it easy. Where are you guys watching from? I see I got 4 people watching right now. Do you believe in Jesus Christ, brother? I do. I was baptized in 2019. I started going back to church in 2017, and I've been going to church ever since then. And if it wasn't for my faith, I probably wouldn't make it. I probably wouldn't be here today. So my faith is really important to me. I try not to throw it on people a lot, but if people want to talk about it, I'm more than happy to talk about my faith. I do have a couple videos on it. It's a hard topic for some people to talk about, but it's part of who I am. I mean, I have my cross, carry my cross daily. So I go to a non-denominational church. I was born and raised Catholic, but go to church every Sunday, and I teach my son lessons. I believe in loving each other, love your neighbors, you love yourself, and treat people with respect. And so the chat's kind of quiet tonight, but I appreciate you guys watching and kind of jumping. I guess I'll just kind of discuss what's going on in my life this week. So one of the hard things I went through this week was it was my son's birthday on Friday, and he turned 8 years old. One of the hardest things about that is that I'm kind of exiting the little kid stage. I mean, he's still technically a little kid. I could still pick him up like Simba. But like him being that little boy that needs me to do everything, that stage is over. It's definitely a difficult transition. Like there's exciting parts about moving forward, and there's exciting parts about like things he can do now and places we can get into. You know, he's tall enough to go on the rides now at the amusement parks. He's high enough to do the high ropes courses at wherever there's like adventure places. But like he doesn't look to me the same to do the same things that he did when he was a baby. Like he doesn't want to wrestle all the time, which I kind of miss. So if you're a dad watching this and that's what brought you to my channel, feel free to bring up any topics about being a dad or being a parent or just children in general. Amen. Yes, Trip 7104. So it's weird. I keep seeing people pop in and out. And I don't know if the people that are coming in and out, if they're the same people or if they're different people. So if you're new, kind of just let me know who you are. Let me know what brought you to my page or brought you to my channel. I would love to connect with you, and whatever brought you to my channel, I would love to be able to expand on for you, whether it's parenting, military, grief and loss. If you want to talk about faith, that's good too. So since the one person that's commenting is telling about Jesus, I guess I'll kind of go into what my favorite Bible verse is. I can't remember the specific. It's in all the New Testament, and all the Gospels, but it's basically like when I gotta look up the actual scripture number, but it's about when the apostles come and talk to Jesus, and they say, Jesus, we couldn't cast out the demons in the person. And then Jesus says, it's because you have little faith. So that quote that piece of scripture hit deep with me because, when I first came to faith, I originally thought that like when I prayed for things, especially when it came to like my custody case, like I would always pray that like certain outcomes would happen, or I'd go to court and I'd pray that a certain outcome would happen that day. And when it didn't happen, you get really discouraged and you start to kind of go away from your beliefs. And basically, what Jesus said was, you have little faith. That's why you couldn't perform the miracles. And I always interpreted that as if you had faith that God would do magical things for you, and He would do them for you. But what I learned, and when I talked to a chaplain one time, I was going through some tough times in my life, I talked to the chaplain. I told him that was my favorite verse, and he's like, "Well, maybe this whole time you've been misinterpreting it. In that verse it says, if you have even a mustard seed of faith, that you could tell this mountain to move and it would move." And I always interpret it as that like God would do miracles for you if you believed. And that's my new interpretation of it. Is not that. It's that if you have faith, that God can give you the strength to do miraculous things. And when He says to move that mountain, it doesn't mean that somebody's going to come over and pick up that mountain and move it from here to there. That sometimes it's God giving you the strength to give you a shovel and for you to go start digging the mountain one scoop at a time and moving it from one place to another. So I think when I started to see my faith in that light, I started to have a better relationship. And honestly, my faith got me through my custody battle. Family court is honestly the worst thing you could ever imagine, and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. So if anybody's watching that's going through family court right now, my faith is what got me through that, because going through family court, there's a lot of things that are said about you, and you can't really defend yourself, because if you try to defend yourself, then you look like you're combative to the court. So, but like this whole time, I knew who I was. I knew who I was as a man. I knew who I was as a father, and I trusted God that if I maintained who I was, that if I just kept moving down the road, going down the path that He had for me, that eventually He would lead me to where I needed to be. And by the grace of God, I did get to where I needed to be, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So. I just want to say the actual, let's see. All right, so Matthew 17:20 was where the Bible verse is. He said, because you have little faith, truly I tell you, if faith is small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. So, like, I always interpreted that as that it would happen immediately. And again, when you say move from here to there, sometimes it takes the strength of you doing it, and it doesn't mean it happens instantaneous. Like I said, if you're moving a mountain shovel by shovel, it's probably going to take you a couple years, couple decades, if not more. So, but having faith isn't about things happening right now. It's about it happening in His time. So I don't know if anybody on that's still watching if it's still you, Trip, that's still in there. But I kind of wanted to go into that, since I know a lot of people say they have faith and they don't really expand on it. But Just wondering org. What does that mean? Just wondering organization. Is that what you're trying to say? So if anybody has any topics they wanted to discuss, please feel free to put in the chat. Like I said, my channel is a little different than a lot of other channels. I don't have one specific thing that I touch on. I make videos pretty much on a lot of things. I have parenting advice. I have dad jokes. I have my daily dad jokes every single day. So if you're subscribed and you're a subscriber and you're watching, I appreciate you probably coming here for my dad jokes. But I also give parenting advice through my wisdom and stuff I've used with my son. I'm also in the military. I'm the Army Reserve. So if you're coming to my page because you're in the military or you're going in the military and you have questions about any of that, please feel free to talk about any of that stuff. But you guys steer the direction that this conversation is going to go, or else I'll just sit up here and I'll blab about things that are happening in my life. So I guess if nobody's going to say anything, I'll kind of go into like a thing that happened this weekend. I took my son out kayaking this weekend, and I've taken him out before. Like I said, it was his birthday on Friday, and I'm a firm believer that experiences are worth more than anything that you can buy with money. As far as when it comes to kids, I think that the memories you make with them are the things that they carry with them forever. So this weekend it was his birthday on Friday, and on Saturday he had a swimming lesson, and we love going to the beach. So we ended up going to the lake, and I rented a kayak, and we went out there kayaking. And I remember being a kid, being poor, and like doing that kind of stuff was just never even a possibility. So I had some introspection this weekend where I was just grateful. Like I said, when I was a kid, being able to do things like that just weren't a possibility. Like unless somebody had charity on us and I went with like an organization or something like that, that was the only time that things like that happened. So to be able to take my son and do things with him and not really have to worry about the financial part as much as I used to, it's such an incredible blessing. And my son turned 8, and by the time I was his age, I had like the most horrible things happen to me, and I kind of lost my innocence at a pretty young age because a lot of things I went through, whether it be abuse or bullying. And to look at my son this past weekend and to like see genuine happiness on his face, to see him smile and to know that he's genuinely happy, there's not really any words that really describe what that emotion is like. When you talk about having kids, you basically like your goal is to give them a better life than you could have ever imagined. So like this weekend, having that and to see my son, see him happy, and to be able to do things with him that I couldn't have, it's extremely uplifting. Hey guys, welcome to the chat or to my my live Q&A. If you're logging in, I'm guessing either here for parenting, for military life, or grief and loss. Please feel free to put anything in the chat that you're here to talk about. I can blab on and on about many topics, so if you just put a keyword in the chat, we can kind of steer this direction where this is going to go. I see I have a lot of random people that come in that don't really say anything. The goal of my channel is to be able to help people, so the only way I can really help people is if they put stuff in the chat and we can have a conversation. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please consider subscribing if you guys like dad jokes. I have dad jokes every single day. If you want, I'll put it in the chat where you guys can see my my most recent compilation of dad jokes. I think they're pretty funny. I've gotten a lot better at them than I was when I first started. I was pretty rusty, and but I've gotten more comfortable in front of the camera. So there's my compilation in the chat if you guys want to check that out. And it's only about 2 minutes, so if you like dad jokes and you like dad jokes rapid fire, there's 2 minutes of them. What's going on, man? How you doing? Is it Vidik Sharma? What's on your mind tonight? And thank you for jumping in. But yeah, if you guys want to check out my dad jokes, I put the link in there. Is it Vidik? Is that how you say it? Can you type it phonetically? Is that? I'm usually pretty good with names, so I would say Vidik. Is that correct? They take. They take what? Is that how you say your name? Because I would not guess that if that's how you say it. But hey, if you're watching and you're not commenting, if you guys want to watch my dad joke compilation, I think you'll find it pretty funny. That doesn't matter. I'm here just to know if you are down to share your thoughts about some topics. Yeah, whatever you want to talk about. Within reason. I don't talk about politics, but anything else I'm down to talk about. It's always the anticipation of not knowing what somebody's gonna type. It's like I'm like sitting here like biting my fingernails. I'm like, what are you gonna say? I'm gonna have to think of some ideas next week for what I want to do for my. So I'm an Indian Hindu, and mostly we have a thing we can explore other religions to get more knowledge. And it doesn't get with every religion. All right, so I'm a practicing Christian. So I mean, I guess I could answer anything from my standpoint and how I view things. So feel free to ask anything you want. I also like learning about other people's religions too. So, religious extremism. Well, I think extremism in any fashion, like, is not a good thing. I mean, I think that there should be some moderation in it. I feel like usually when it comes to like religion, if you're more extreme, you usually kind of ostracize another group of people. So from that standpoint, I think God is love, and I think that's what it's supposed to be. I think a lot of things are done in the name of God that I don't think are exactly right. And it's funny, a lot of people that I dislike the most are people that claim to be Christians, because they say they're Christians, but they don't actually act on the values that Jesus gave to us. So, like, I believe that we're supposed to love our brothers as we're supposed to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. So we're supposed to treat people the way we want to be treated. You know, when Jesus gave his 2 commandments, he said, love your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and love your brothers as you love yourself. That's it. So it's not that if you don't follow Jesus, you go to hell. That's not what it says. It says that if you believe in Jesus, that you're promised what's promised to you, which is the kingdom of heaven. But if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in Jesus, or if you don't believe in God, how can you believe in a heaven? That doesn't mean that there's hell, that you're going to go to hell. I think all hell is absence of God. So, honestly, most people, the biggest problem with people in this country is those who claim to be like the most Christian are the ones that will treat people in a way that Jesus would never treat anybody. Jesus was love. If you read the gospel of Jesus, he never talks about like somebody being of a different descent or of a certain orientation. Like, he promoted love, and he said, if you believe in me, if you follow my yoke, if you follow my cloak, then you'll inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's all it really says. Like, the parts that I take away are the parts I read in the Bible are in the red letters. The problem with most religious scripture is that you can find something that will. You can basically find any verse that will back up the intention that you're trying to put out there. And the crazy part is that there's so many Christians that I guarantee if Jesus came back today and he was in the streets and he came up to them and asked them for a bottle of water, I guarantee they would ignore him. So, like, my thing is, like, I respect others that have their religious beliefs. Like, obviously, I believe in God, and I believe God loves everybody, regardless of who they are, where they came from. I think he loves them, and I think when I see other religions, I respect those who have faith in what they believe in, and if they have a certain moral compass because of it. Obviously, the extremes I don't believe are good, because we see what bad and what evil can come from things that are done in the name of other people, and we have people that follow people blindly. So you have people that will preach something, and people will follow without actually questioning it. I don't really agree with that. I agree with loving Jesus, but people come from all different cultures, and what I wish that they could see and have the relationship I have with God and Jesus, yeah. But I think God has a certain respect for those who are faithful. I mean, there's one verse in the New Testament where basically Jesus meets a Roman soldier, and like, he sees the faith in which he sees the way people follow him, and he had a great admiration and respect for the way that they follow this officer. And like, the officer came and asked him to heal, I forget if it was his servant or his servant's child, but because they had that level of faith, he decided to heal that boy. And it's not like the Roman soldier was a Christian, because obviously Christianity didn't exist back then, and he probably wasn't Jewish, because I know, like, in Rome they were what is it? They believe in many different gods. So I think you probably don't know the religion enough to say you don't respect it, because you're taking the problem that people have is that they take the most extreme, and then they judge every person that does that by the most extreme part of it. Like, I can understand why people feel that way, because they're naive and they don't know. Like, but if you actually ever talk to an actual um, like devout Islamic person, and you actually talk to them about the religion, you would find that there is a lot of similarities in the teachings that they're taught to do. And honestly, like, they believe in Jesus more than a lot of other people do, because they don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, but they believe he's a prophet. So I think that you should never just count people out for what they follow and what they believe in. Um, I mean, I've met some amazing Islamic Muslim people, so I can't really sit here and say that, and I can't really agree with what you're saying. So I have respect for those who have faith and they practice it, and they have a certain moral compass based on their belief systems. Um, if I was being a true follower of Christ, I couldn't hate somebody else. I mean, when Jesus met the Gentiles, he didn't push them away. He offered them a glass of water. Like, he accepted everybody. So I can't get behind ostracizing a whole entire group of people because certain people feel different ways about it. Um, but this kind of gets into politics, and I don't really want to get into that part of it, because based on your political beliefs, you can believe one thing about what Christianity is, but I don't want to really go into that part of it. So I just believe that I respect anybody that has a belief system and they have a moral compass based on their faith. Um, I talk to my Muslim friend about being a Christian, and I tell him basically what I believe in, why I believe in it, and he tells me the same, and I respect him for it. Um, I think the biggest problem we have in society is that we're not willing to have conversations with people. We just base what we know about it based on what we read in the paper, what we read online. And a lot of times, the biggest problem with that is that your news feed is controlled by the algorithm, and the algorithm is controlled by what you research. So if you believe in a certain thing, when you look up those things, you're gonna get that biased opinion put in your face. So, like, the biggest problem we have is misinformation in this country and people not looking into things. So, um, yeah, again, I mean, if you were to take those religions in their purest forms, I don't think there would be the extreme nature of it. I don't think that there would be the death, and I don't think things would be done in the name of that religion. If you actually look at what those are based upon. But I mean, if you want to know anything about Christianity, I don't really want to get into like judging other religions or anything. I can speak to what my relationship with God is, and if you want to have that conversation and you have questions about it, I'm more than happy to kind of get my give my opinions. But again, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Jesus doesn't say who your neighbor is. It just says your neighbor. So if that says anything. But I'll be honest, if I didn't have my faith, I would not have made it through a lot of the things I've gone through. Because if I was to lean on my own understanding of things, I wouldn't be where I am today. So, you got anything else, Vidik? I appreciate, honestly, I appreciate you coming in and trying to have a conversation. Um, I think if we ask more questions of people, I think this world will be a lot better of a place. Anybody else got anything? I got some more people in the chat. I would love to talk about anything. I got my dad jokes in the chat, so if you guys want to check out my dad jokes, feel free. I post dad jokes every single day. Uh, the world's a pretty crappy place sometimes, and just having a moment to be able to laugh is sometimes important, and kind of break up the day and make even the little things even more manageable. So feel free to check out my dad jokes. I got tons of videos on many different subjects and topics. My goal is to help as many people as I can. Um, when I started my YouTube journey, I originally thought that like the moment you press upload, that people are gonna just come and watch your videos. It's not the way YouTube works. So I've been slowly building up my channel since August of last year, um, and I've been kind of changing the way I present my stuff. I've had my goal is to have more conversations. Yeah, unfortunately, um, we lose innocent lives everywhere. Like, fortunately, we don't get to choose what happens, and I guess part of the what God gave us when He created us was that He gave us free will, and um, I mean, I trust me. I get it. War is bad, and it's it's heartbreaking when any life is lost. Um, I mean, I don't need to know how they were lost. I mean, it's it's heartbreaking any loss of life, no matter how it's taken. Um, since I became this, I guess goes into one of my other videos or one of my other topics. Um, like ever since I became a dad, I became more sensitive to loss of life, especially when it deals with kids, when it deals with families. Um, it's heartbreaking. It was kind of one of the reasons why I joined the military was that I wanted to be able to protect the ones I loved and the ones I cared about. And being in the service, I'm able to hopefully protect my loved ones, and I have a belief system that's kind of where I lie. But it's a tragedy any life that's lost. So I definitely pray for the people around the world, and I pray that somehow that there's able to find peace. Um, and I think as a Christian, one of the things that um, I mean, I guess I understand like what you're saying, but like this conversation is really not gonna change. That kind of conversation is really not gonna change anything. I said I'm willing to share my belief system and kind of why I feel the way I do. Well, like I said, I'll pray for the people that are being ridiculed right now, the ones that are under oppression, the ones that have to feel this violence and see violence. I think as a dad, the hardest thing is knowing that people and children have to deal with the ramifications of the violence in this world. You know, like I said, I have a greater sensitivity to things than I did before. Um, I think before being a parent, you can kind of, unfortunately, you can kind of put your blinders on for things that happen. I mean, that was actually the reason why I joined the military, was because of that. So, um, but hey, if there's anything else you want to talk about, I mean, I'm definitely gonna pray for you, and I hope that you find some peace and some peace in your life. But I don't know if you know, like, I mean, my goal with this channel is to be able to help others. I mean, I don't really want to get into world topics. Like I said, you've kind of let me know exactly what's happening, and I'll pray over you and pray that you find peace in yourself, and that you can find a way of making sense of all this, because it sounds horrible. And so, I mean, this is one thing I've always talked about. And basically, the way like our Western society has worked is, we've been able to kind of be naive to a lot of things that happen in the world, because a lot of things don't happen in our backyard per se. I mean, you even look at World War II, like all of Europe was being destroyed, and bombed out, and like people back here, I mean, obviously we were having rations and people were not able to do things that they wanted to do, but like the destruction and the deaths didn't really ever hit our shores. And now it's even easier to be able to kind of shield yourself from things that are going on in the world. Um, like I said, once I became a parent, once I became a dad, like I'm aware of the things that happen in the world, because I think when you become a father, that your job as a man is to be able to protect your family, and no matter what circumstance it is. So you almost have to be aware of the things that are going on in the world, because how can you protect the ones you love and you care about if you're not aware of the threats that are around? So, but honestly, the world is a pretty dark and scary place, and it's honestly horrible turning on the news every night, like even locally, like seeing like the stuff that goes on, and it breaks my heart. So like, I think sometimes I try to isolate myself into like my own little cocoon, or my own little area, and try to like just make the best of what I have in front of me, and kind of protect that and keep it safe. But I mean, being in the military, like there's always that chance that I'm going to be involved in something that's going on. So, I mean, I guess I just try to enjoy every day as much as I can. And if there's threats in life, then I take them on as they come. Honestly, you're not disrespectful. I appreciate you saying that, and it shows a lot of maturity and on your part. Honestly, like one of the reasons why I made this channel too is to be able to kind of share my wisdom with people. When you're a young kid and you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you kind of have an idea of what you think the world is and what you think life is going to be. And honestly, like you're going to go through so many different things. You're going to work so many different jobs. You're going to meet so many different people. You're going to go through so many different experiences. And they're all going to change you in different ways. I'm the type of person that I've taken the bad things and the adversity in my life, and I've used a lot of those things as a motivator to kind of make myself better. I went through a pretty crappy childhood myself, and I was a victim of abuse and bullying. And I always told myself when I became a dad, I wanted to be able to give my son a better life than I had. And honestly, like my son's 8 years old now, and like I use a lot of the stuff that I went through as a way of teaching him, because the biggest problem that we have is when we're kids is, or even in general in life, like we don't know what we don't know. Like when I was a kid, all I knew was poverty. I worked hard to make sure that my son could have a better life. So now my son doesn't understand what it's like to be in poverty, but I take every chance to try to show him, try to tell him, and explain to him that, like, even to have the ability to have a roof over your head, or to be able to have food in your refrigerator, like, these are blessings that we have. Like, this isn't stuff that's guaranteed. And I feel like you need to teach your children, and the children need to be aware that if you have something good, that there has to be some kind of sense of gratitude and blessing for that. So you haven't gone to bed. So I remember those days. I appreciate you jumping in. I appreciate you asking questions. Um, like I said, the only way we learn about each other is by asking questions. The biggest problem that we can have in this world is to not ask questions and just assume things. And honestly, people that do different things, surprisingly more often than not, those people will want to have conversations with you. So keep asking questions. Keep being curious. Be open minded. I said I'll pray for you, and I hope you find peace with all the stuff that's going on. And I appreciate you coming on tonight. And thank you. I appreciate all the kind words you're saying. So if there's anybody else in the chat that has anything they want to talk about, feel free to jump in. This is an open forum. If you want to check out my page, see some of the topics I discuss. Um, I'm a dad. I talk about military content. Yeah, one of the biggest problems with not being able to sleep is that you go down some rabbit holes when you're online, because the algorithm will keep showing you more stuff, and you'll just keep watching and watching. And um, if you get an opportunity when you are able to get some sleep, just get out and enjoy. If you're in a place that has nice weather, just go out and enjoy the beautiful weather, enjoy the sounds of the animals, kind of untap yourself from the algorithm. It can be beneficial and helpful sometimes. Yeah, I hope you subscribed. Hopefully, we'll see you around. If you watch any of my videos, do you have any comments? Let me know. I'm gonna be doing these live streams at least once a week, so I'll usually be posting them beforehand. So if you have any other topics you want to talk about, if you have any questions, again, these are all only my opinions and my perspective. So don't take anything I'm saying as like what everybody believes, because it's definitely not. So um, take it easy. It's funny when I get down to me being on my and just watching myself and talking to myself. Um, so whoever joined, I appreciate you stopping in. Um, if something caught your eye that made you want to click on my video or my live stream, I talk about military, I talk about parenting, I talk about religion or my faith. I talk about adversity, grief, and loss. Feel free to talk about anything you want. Put something in the chat, and I can expand on what I'm talking about. I mean, it's never a problem to question things. It's good to also be curious. Um, kind of seek out things that they don't understand, like you're doing right now, and ask questions. Um, Instead, there's nothing wrong with seeking out information. But if you can actually have a conversation with people that believe in something different, you can learn a lot about each other, and um, hopefully learn some things you didn't know. And um, I think at the end of the day, I think we have more, no matter what spectrum we are, political wise, religious wise, racial wise, I think that we have more in common than we do different. And I think if we spent more time talking to each other and actually asking questions, I think our society would be a lot different. But we're so secluded, and we're so like we kind of stick to what's comfortable, and when you stick to what's comfortable, you kind of fall into your own beliefs on things, and that's what gets dangerous. So stay curious. I feel like after I talk for a long time, I don't really have a lot to say. The hardest part is that, like, you want um, engagement from people, and when you don't get engagement, you don't know which way to go. Again, this is the problem with having multiple different topics I talk about. Is I'm like, what is one topic I'm talking about going to be completely something different than somebody is logging on for? Um, Hello, I see I got a new person watching. Let's see, what can I go into talking? So this week I recently hit 500 subscribers. It's a pretty big milestone. When I first started this channel back 2 years ago, I made my first video about losing my twin brother, and I thought because it was a topic that people probably didn't know much about, that I thought people would just log in and watch my video, and nobody did. And after like 2 weeks, I was the only one that watched any of my videos, and I was like all the viewers. So I got really discouraged. But I kept my channel up and running. I kept the videos on. And I kept thinking about wanting to do more content. I've lived a pretty interesting life. I've done a lot of things, and I think a lot of my experiences can help somebody in some way. So I sat down, I wrote a script for the new video I wanted to publish, and I wrote down a script. I made sure I had good topic points. I did some research. I made a script, and I sat down and filmed it. I thought I filmed in a good angle. I pressed upload, and a couple days later, I had no viewership on it. And even to this day, like, it's one of my poorest performing videos that I have. And I'm like, I still think it has good topic ideas, but if the algorithm doesn't think it's something that's good, it won't push it. So I had that video, and I got discouraged again. But I kind of wanted to get in the content creator world. And I was like, well, let me check out shorts. And I did my first short back in August. My very first my very first short was reviewing Reese's Oreos. And at this point, I had no views on my other videos. So getting like 25 views on my shorts, I was like, this is awesome. People want to watch me. And then the hard part about content creation is thinking about what you want to put out there and what you want to make and what's important to you. I've gone through a lot of things in my life, a lot of hardships, and I've used humor in a lot of part of my life to kind of get through awkward situations. And I was like, well, I'm passionate about being a dad. I like making people laugh. I've always enjoyed telling dad jokes. Like when I'm at work, that does have near Chuck Norris experience. I do have a video of, let's see if I can find it. I have my Chuck Norris compilation. I feel like because you said it, I feel like I have to share it. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. But I like the one Chuck Norris joke. There's no theory of evolution, only a list of animals Chuck Norris is allowed to live. That one makes me laugh. I gotta find it. Now I'm like on a mission. Like, I wish I was better at technology. Oh, here we go. All right, there's my Chuck Norris compilation. Let me know if you he did count to infinity 2 times. Did you know Chuck Norris gave his eulogy at his own funeral? Chuck Norris was the pallbearer at his own funeral. What's some other ones? I still like the one where it's Chuck Norris's tears cure cancer. It's too bad Chuck Norris never cries. Chuck Norris gets with every woman once a... I don't know if I can say that one. I'll save that one for later. Oh, so going back to my content creation. So I do dad jokes every single day. So I started doing dad jokes because I really have always enjoyed kind of like catching people off guard. I think even like the most serious people like love dad jokes. A lot of times I'll run my meetings and I'll start out with a dad joke because it kind of like people can be having a crappy day, but like they hear something so stupid that they have no choice but to laugh, and it kind of breaks them out of whatever funk that they're in. So that's kind of the reason why I started doing my dad jokes. I said I love being a dad, so it kind of tied into who I am as a person. So if I can share that with the world, that's my goal. I've been making a lot of content for parenting. My parenting stuff hasn't really hit though. It's kind of the reason why I started doing these live streams is that the algorithm doesn't exactly pick my stuff up for parenting stuff. So like having conversations like this where people can just jump on and if they see my live stream and they have topics they want to talk about, then I can discuss that. My best performing videos are surprisingly my military stuff, being older when I joined the military. So if that's what brought you here and you have questions about the military, feel free to ask. I've dealt with grief and loss, and somebody that chooses grief and loss as a motivation in their life to be able to move forward and give themselves a better life. My goal is to share that and hopefully inspire some people that are going through similar situations. Let's see what else. I do have a video where I talk about kind of like being a high school F-up and not having any direction in life and kind of finding my purpose after I lost my mom and kind of just going from there. So, I mean, I wasn't good in high school at all. Like, when I tell you I wasn't good in high school, like I had like a D average. And now I hear about kids having like 4.5 averages. I'm like, how is that even possible? I thought it only went up to 4.0. So I went to college when I was 23. It's funny, I don't know how old the people are that are in this stream, but so back when I was younger, this would have been like 2008, 2009 time frame. And they used to have this video on, like, if you were watching like Law and Order during the day, they would have this commercial come on, and it'd be like, I think it was for like a for-profit university, like Everest Institute or something like that. But basically, like, it was this guy, and he just walks by and he's like, "What are you doing with your life? You're not doing anything. Pick up the phone and call." And like they'd put the number on the screen, and I don't know, it just hit one day that just hit me, and I was like, "This guy's right. What am I doing with my life?" So I went down to the community college. I took the entrance exam, and I did well on the English part of it. I did decent on the science, but then like I was so bad in high school that like I got like a negative number on my math test, and basically they put me in the most remedial math class that there was. Um, I think it was transitional studies, and like the first 2 weeks of this class, I learned whole numbers. So I'm in college, and I'm learning whole numbers and addition and subtraction, and I was like, adding and subtracting. I'm like, I'm getting hundreds on my test. I'm like, I'm the smartest person alive. But the worst part about those classes was that they weren't for credits. So I was basically paying to take a class that didn't count for anything. So when I finally was able to get out of those classes, it was amazing. It's nice to know that the stuff you're paying for is actually what's it called? Like you're getting your money's worth. So I did community college for a couple of years. I worked in the service industry. I worked in restaurants for a long time. I feel like that's where I got a lot of my people skills was by waiting tables. I think the interesting thing about waiting tables is that you deal with people from all walks of life. Nobody's really the same, um, and you learn different ways to talk to people. And as I continued going on through college, I wanted to do a couple different things. Like when I first started college, I was like, I want to be a dental hygienist, and I tried to get in a couple different community colleges, and they were extremely competitive. So I didn't get into those programs. And then one day I was watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and Herbie the Elf was like, "I want to be a dentist," and I was like, "Well, if Herbie the Elf can be a dentist, then so can I." So I decided to go to and apply at the University of Buffalo, and it was the only school I applied to. Actually, yeah, it was the only school I applied to, um, and I got in, and I started taking classes to be pre dental. And the first class I took at school, I felt like the dumbest person alive because like I walk into a lecture hall, and there's like I think there was like 350 people in my class. Like coming from a small community college where like I had like 20, 30 people in my classes to going to a university where there's 250 people, it was it was definitely humbling. And I think the not having a strong math background, because basically when I was in high school, they kind of try to push students out, so they would like kind of give them a dumber down curriculum. So when I finally got to college and I started taking like regular classes, the high school just didn't prepare me well for the next steps. Again, I never thought I was going to go to college because I barely graduated high school. But I kind of want to be a motivation to the kids that are younger that want to go to school and think that they can't because they're a certain way. But I do want to encourage people to kind of go after things that they want and work hard because you can overcome obstacles and you can overcome narratives that people make about you. So, so I did pretty poorly in chemistry, and I realized that not doing well in chemistry, that I probably wasn't going to get into medical school. So I mean, I was still enrolled in classes, but I struggled that first semester. I had some classes, and I finished those ones. And I think after that semester, I ended up taking a leave of absence and kind of trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I kind of lead towards the communication route, and that's kind of the direction I went. I did try to go to the nursing route as well, and I did that a couple different times. but the one I applied to a nursing school, and I got accepted to the university, but they said that I needed to start over. And I was like, I'm about to graduate next year. I am not starting over as a freshman. So I chose not to do that. I kept doing my communication classes, and my senior year I loaded up on credits, and I think I did 22 credits one semester, and I did 23 credits my last semester. So here's a quick tip for you guys: if you're taking college courses, anything you take over 12 is free. So if you can load up on your courses, especially if you're going to have student loan debt, it's just a smart financial decision, because back when I was a kid, or back when I was going through the process, they didn't really educate you very well. And now I have student loan debt like crazy. And if I could go back and be taught like how to navigate through all that, I wish I would have had that. But so actually, when I was in college, I wanted to play football, and I was going to a Division I university. I chose to try to be a walk-on, but unfortunately I couldn't be a walk-on because I had a job, and back then NCAA policies said that if you were to become a student athlete, that you couldn't have a job making more than a certain amount of money. And being a kid that was poor, I couldn't afford not to have a job because I didn't have scholarships, and then my financial aid was running out. So I started working for the football team. My goal was to try out, but like I kind of knew that dream wasn't going to happen either. But the next best thing is I did get hired as a student manager, and I thought to myself, I want to be a college football coach. So I went down that path for a little bit. I did a little coaching on the side, started taking classes, was shadowing one of our coaches, and my senior year, everybody got fired, and unfortunately in college athletics, nepotism is very much a thing. So it's all about who you know, not what you know. And unfortunately, my list of recommendations, referrals, wasn't really there. So I kept my communication. Once I graduated college, I got my bachelor's in communication, and I got a minor in public relations and marketing. So I went into restaurant management. I did that for a couple of years, and I was working on one job, and they were closing a bunch of restaurants and stores, so I decided to move restaurants. And the restaurant I moved to is the one where I met my son's mother. So kind of an interesting way for things to happen is that, I got a new job because I was scared my job was going to close, and then I ended up meeting my son's mother. So I did that I worked at that place for a couple of years, or actually it was less than a year. So on one Mother's Day, my whole entire kitchen staff quit at closing time. So after that, I was like, I can't do that anymore. I'm not happy. I was like, as a new manager, I'm closing every day of the month. I had no social life. I had no work-life balance. And I joined the Army when I was 18 originally, and it didn't work out that time. And I still had this urge to serve, and so I went down and I started talking to a recruiter, and at this point, every time I went and talked to a recruiter, they always gave me the runaround. They weren't accepting waivers at this time, which was kind of crazy because this was during like the peak of Iraq and Afghanistan, and I couldn't get a waiver. But I talked to this recruiter. I got all the medical documents I had to, submitted all of it. They sent me to MEPS. I went to see specialists. They gave me waivers, and I enlisted in the Army. And so this was the third different job career I had, change. So I chose a job that I could do and I could translate into being a civilian. and I chose being a paralegal because it was something I could do on the civilian side, and I could still serve and be a reservist. And then I went to basic training, and when I came home for Christmas for basic training, I found out I was going to be a dad. So after I went back, finished training, came back, started to try to build a life for myself and have a new job, new career. I was waiting tables, trying to make ends meet, applying at different law firms, and eventually I got hired as a paralegal. And this is one of the things I want to emphasize to people that are going through things is when you get a job, as important early on in life as it is to have a high paying job, I think even more important, it's important to have the title of whatever job you have, because if you're getting the experience and you have the title, you can continue working towards getting more experience so that when you start applying for new jobs, you become more marketable. And when you become more marketable, when you get those new jobs, you can go from making a certain amount here, where it can be very little, and you can jump to a much higher pay rate, which is ultimately what happened to me. Is I worked a couple years as a paralegal, making almost nothing. I was working part-time as a waiter, so I was working from like 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night every day, and I didn't have much of a social life, but my goal was to give my child a better life than I had. So and unfortunately, once my relationship fell apart and it wasn't going to work out, I ended up losing my job there, and I went back to waiting tables full time. And this is where I say like having faith is really important, because if it wasn't for my faith, I would have given up. But I kept pushing. I went to work, kept doing my Army drill time. If I had opportunities to go to some schools, I did that. And this is right at the beginning of COVID, or right at the end of COVID. So I was trying to find a job in the workforce while COVID was happening. And obviously I couldn't wait tables during COVID because restaurants closed. And somehow when I was in waiting tables, God works in mysterious ways. I think somebody reached out to me on Indeed, and they asked me to apply for a job, and that's how I got the foot in the door in the company I have now. So my trajectory in life has been pretty interesting. It's kind of why I make these videos, is because my path and my route to where I am today wasn't easy. It wasn't simple. But as you go through hard times, you learn different things. You learn from yourself. You learn from the people around you. And you just keep pushing forward. And hopefully one day, if you work hard enough, things will keep lining up and opportunities will present themselves. That's basically how I got to where I am today in my career. And then as far as being a single dad, which is kind of the reason why I started this channel and started filming content again, is that when I was becoming a single dad, there wasn't really any content for how to be the best single dad I could be. When I would search single dad content, a lot of the stuff that I would see would be about like tactics and family court, and that wasn't really, I didn't really find that to be interesting. Like as important as fighting the battle of court is, like my goal was what happens when that stuff is all over, and I wanted to be the best parent I possibly could be. All right, so I'm right at the 75-minute mark, and I don't really see anybody jumping in the chat, and I'm the only person watching me. So I think I'm going to end the live stream there. If you're still watching and you commented, I appreciate it. Please check out some of my content. I did push the my Dad Joke of the Day compilation down in the chat. So feel free to check that out. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Check out my stuff, see if you like it. I would love to have future conversations with you. So you guys have a good night. May God bless you and your families.